So you do okay. So Anthony Macri starts out crashing a lot of
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
Now I'm watching this. I'm watching this proceed as Greg. Greg is like Anthony's kind of role model
Yes.
because Nick had sponsored Greg when Anthony was wee before he even was racing. So Anthony had, Greg was the guy he bounced stuff off of.
Well, we look at Anthony Macri now.
Oh,
Okay, and before we get to you, and I don't think you'd be upset. You do talk to Anthony. Like there's
hmm,
times you've helped him with his maturation as a driver.
hmm,
And you're kind of the guy behind the scene. I always call you like a fixer. I'll call you during the day to set up a podcast and you're hauling rebar, but then you're, there's times you filled in on the
yeah,
car.
yeah,
I think the one year when going through all the crew chiefs switch, you won the Tuscarora 50, the Sealands Grove National Open, and there was another one you won. Oh, was it the Nittany Showdown?
yeah. His first two outlaw runs he had. Yeah,
You won all of that as a
yeah,
crew.
yeah.
So you might know what you're doing. So, but tell us about or tell everybody about the maturation of Anthony Macri from a guy who wrecked a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't see what I see now,
No.
but now he's a top 6, 7 guy in the country every year, depending where he runs and
Yeah.
all that. And he's good.
Early story about Anthony. This is Grandview Speed Week. Moon's helping him because Moon Byers was like his first crew chief in sprint car racing. So they they go out in time trial, and he goes quick time the first lap. And I'm not sure if we weren't second or third or something like that. He goes quick time the first lap and puts it in the fence the second lap. And he's coming back. Like, I think he was walking back through the, like, at the opening there, and we're standing up there, and he's like, "Oh man." I said, "Dude," I said, "You need it. What's wrong with it?" And he's like, "I don't know. We're done." I'm like, "You're quick time." He goes, "What?" I said, "Your first lap was quick time. You're quick time right now." And like, just unassuming, like that was Anthony. Like,
Yeah.
didn't realize. Well, obviously he was in the car, so the second lap he crashes, so he's probably like, "Oh man, I'm getting my ass chewed, and this isn't gonna be pretty." But I'm like, "You're quick time," and he's like, "Really?" Well, then obviously, then shit started happening, and they got it back together, or whatever. But that was like, that was one of the first times that I'm like, he might have something there. Like, he might have something. Um, Jim Shuttlesworth came on board, and I think it was the perfect guy at the perfect time because Jim's one of them guys that could really he works really good with young people because he he's a great guy to boost their confidence, and it's where Anthony he needed that at that point in his career. So about that time is when I felt like Anthony started to figuring stuff out. Didn't crash as much. Obviously, Jim's cars went really good at Port Royal, and Anthony took a liking to Port Royal, and it was a comfortable place for him to race on the fence, which is not comfortable for most people. But with the way Jim did the car and the way Anthony drove, that was kind of his coming out party. That was where he was comfortable. He started winning races there. Now he won races. Had he won races before? I think him and Moon won 2 races at Lincoln. Not sure if he won one at the Grove, but
Good
like,
at Lincoln and didn't like Lincoln though.
yeah, yeah. But Moon had a really good deal for like Williams Grove and Lincoln. Like his cars were always faster. While he was working with Anthony, he was working with Freddie too. So, and Stevie. So, but I felt like Anthony started figuring stuff out when Jim came on board there. Just like when he got something that felt really good. I think the first time you get something that feels really good and you're really comfortable, the confidence start rising, and that's where he was with Jim. Like, and then obviously shit hit the fan there. Right after Speed Week, they had a really good Speed Week, and shit hit the fan there, and then. But I feel like that year was the year that Anthony started figuring it out. Then Bernie comes in because it was like, oh shit, where do we go now? And I'm like, I can't. Like, I was involved in everything Kayla was doing at the time. She was in high school sports. I'm like, I'll do what I can do, but I can't probably do Friday nights. Saturdays are limited because of travel ball. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's when they got Bernie to come in and do basically anything at Williams Grove on a Friday night and Lincoln. And then I got Port Royal and Selinsgrove because it was what Bernie was like, I really don't care about them places. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll take care of those because he's really good there. But as it was, like the first weekend that Bernie came in, I think they won Lincoln and Williams Grove Friday night, the very first time that he was in the car with Bernie working on it. And I think they won the next night at Lincoln. So it was like the confidence level was just brimming. And that was kind of the explosion for, in my opinion, for Anthony was that year. You had Jim to start the year. They had a really good season going through Speed Week. And then Bernie came on board and won and was competitive, really competitive at the big shows at Williams Grove and stuff at the end of the year. And then we did what we did at Port Royal and Selinsgrove. And I just feel like that was Anthony, that was his breakout, figuring it out, confidence, I talked about Greg earlier, being able to carry a car, like when it's not right. Well, that's where I think Anthony, that was the point. That's where I think when you become a good driver, you can help carry the car. When you have a 7th place car and you can make it run 3rd, you're doing something. You're doing something. Because guys that can't do that will take a 7th place car and put it in the fence, trying to run 3rd. Where he was over that. He was past that. He could take that 7th place car now and run 3rd or win at Port Royal, especially. So, I'd say that was the breakout year when things started. I always say when whatever you're trying to do, when things start slowing down and it becomes more natural instead of going, oh my God, how am I going to keep up with this? Like I felt like that's where he was in his career at that point. Everything around him started slowing down and he became much faster in the race car.
Yeah, and I actually think he's better at Lincoln than he is Port. I think now, every time he goes to Lincoln, he's running in the top 3.
So I think Joe really helped. Whatever Joe does at Lincoln really helped his Lincoln. Like he became a lot better at Lincoln, but I still think he's pretty good at Port Royal.
No, don't get me wrong.
But he's really like Williams Grove. I'm not so sure Williams Grove wasn't his best track last year.
No doubt about it. And then
very limited race. I think they ran 5 or 6 races there last year.
I want to talk just briefly hit on last year. Wins at Kings Royal. What was that like for you? Because I know you're a fan of Anthony. You have a vested interest. You've helped him. Game a little bit.
Listen, that's one of the reasons. One of the besides the fact of what all Nick did for me. Getting me a job there and stuff like that. But like, I knew that I knew I could be involved in racing to a point, but not obsessed with it like I had to be before. He made it clear. I'm never going to ask you to work on the race car like full time. That is not your job. That's not why I'm having you come here. And even when Jim quit there, he's like, I'm not asking you. And I said, well, I'll do what I can do. But he said, I'm not asking you. I said, okay, I'll do what I can do. But it's a place where I can be involved in racing a little bit, and it keeps me happy because I still love racing, but I don't love the grind of it. And
the car wash,
the 15-hour days, I don't miss it. Like now, do I have fun going to a couple races a year? Absolutely. Like, I went out to Lernerville and the 4 Crown this year. I had a blast. It was fun. We did well. Like, it was fun. But I'm involved in racing enough, but far enough away from it that it's not my job. Still like order parts, kind of like Joe and I talk every day, probably 4 times a day. It's his deal. He does what he needs to do. And, I help him do what he needs to do. I'm involved in it. I do some shock work and stuff like that. That I love it. That keeps me involved. But Anthony winning the Kings Royal was, man, it's one of them things where it's like, it's come full circle. Like it's a very proud moment because I'd say 4 years ago, no one would have said no way, not a prayer. not a prayer. But the last 2 years, it's like he's on the verge of winning. He's on the verge of winning something big, besides big races at Port Royal and stuff like. Because the National Open, he's been very competitive at. I'd say the last 2 or 3 years, he's been top 5 every night at the National Open. Just be real close to winning that big one. And then, obviously Joe being on the road and having the knowledge that he has, that's where I say I didn't have that ability to see things through different people's perspective, where he's worked for Bobby Allen, he's worked with Eric Prutzman. So he's had a couple guys that he can see stuff through. So it's a big help. But yeah, no, they killed it that weekend. And it was really cool. I was proud. I was proud of all of them, obviously, because it's one of the biggest races of the year ever. So yeah, for them guys to win that, and I had a small part in it. Yeah, it's very gratifying.
Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com live show. I appreciate everybody joining us. I know more people are going to be coming in. We'll get to the chat and the calls in a minute. If you'd like to call in, ask a question, it's 1-844-543-8589. Just a couple of the topics that we will be hitting on, I'm sure. Brian Carter did an interview with Connor Wade this week, and I had some takeaways from it. Obviously, I talked about it on the 90 at 9 this morning. Carter, in a 40-minute sit-down, talked about a lot of different things, the business of sprint car racing, how important it is to go to California, a little bit of a high limit, mentioned some stuff about franchise system and kind of their direction and how they go about doing things. And it was pretty good. I give Connor Wade credit for doing it. All in all, it was pretty good. So again, if you want to talk about that, we can. Later in the day, or I should say earlier today, I'm all messed up. I just sat down real quick. The PA Posse 410 Sprint Series was announced. Again, I'm still trying to get used to it. It's going to be 47 races across 11 racetracks, $1.8 million in payouts through the purse, $200,000 point fund. If we want to talk about that as well, I have a lot of thoughts about it. There's a lot of things that haven't been released yet, such as the format, kind of how many races at each track, the schedule, so on and so forth. So I think there's a couple good things, and I have some concerns as well. So, let's jump right in. Let's keep the calls tight tonight, and we'll get to the chat. So let's go. How many guys will run the whole new PA series? I love seeing tracks work together and feel this is going to be awesome. I think the jury's still out on that. As far as it being awesome, I think, again, I have some concerns, and we don't have all the information yet. I mean, I have most of it. They're going to release more tomorrow. As I see it too, I think there could be 2 people who run the whole series. There's going to be some mulligans involved. And, again, it's just the math. As 47 races is a lot of races. And keep in mind, they're not additional races onto the schedule. They took some established races and made them series races. first and foremost. So so we don't get confused by that. So it's not 115 races from 2025 and an additional 47 races. It's not that. But you do have 17 sanctioned events that aren't part of the series. And that puts the number at 64 for a lot of guys who want to be paid $1,000 to start if they make an outlaw feature, or $1,200 to start if they make a high limit main event. So they're going to go to those. So 47, I mean, obviously rainouts will come into play. Last year, only 10 drivers ran 50 Central Pennsylvania races. Of those 10, only 3 ran 60. So I think there's a lot of things that could come into play there. But as talking to as many teams as I have about this, I estimate probably a couple, 2, 3 will run every race. I think this is a very, very good that the tracks are finally trying to work together. I hope it works out for all the tracks. Agreed. I think the two major positives out of this thing is that the tracks are working together. They got in a room and formulated this thing. And then the second thing is that they're going to lay down for select events. So when there's a series race at Lincoln, Port Royal won't run. Now, I don't know how many, don't expect 20 guys from Port Royal to go down to Lincoln. That's not going to happen. But still, there's that opportunity there to get kind of everybody on one stage. So I think it's very good that the tracks are working together. And I do think that it's very important that they lay down and aren't over top of each other so much. So two huge positives. And, the other stuff, I mean, that can be tweaked in the future. Again, I have some concerns, but yes, the two most important things are positive with those, the tracks working together and then laying down for one another. Saw Rodman's video. Jeremy, we can officially say hell has frozen over today. Every track is working together finally. Yeah, I mean, this is something that I think I never understood why they didn't work together. Because this sport isn't big enough to be on an island. I know some people think it is, but it's not. And you're kind of Central Pennsylvania is the biggest region, and no doubt about it. It's the biggest fan base. It's probably the most rabid fan base. And again, it's odd to me that tracks wouldn't work together for years, but they haven't. They have at times. I know I see a lot of this. Oh, the tracks have never worked together. Speed Week. So I think the tracks are taking a little bit of an unfair beating here that they never worked together. That is not true. You had Keystone Cup. You had, you still have Pennsylvania Speed Week, which is a monster. So, and there's been other times. I mean, Baps and Williams Grove worked together last year on a couple things. So this idea that they never work together that's just not true, but it hasn't been like this. And I, credit to the racetracks for doing that. And, I wish them the best. I'm looking forward to which drivers will commit to this series. What's your thoughts on Lance DeWeese running it? He's not running for points. Talk to him. I think he'll run a lot of series races, but he's not going to Bedford. Okay, he's not going to Clinton County. I question whether they go to Sealands Grove. They're probably not going to Bridgeport. He even said in the story on SprintCarUnlimited.com that, Port Royal, mostly Port Royal and likely Williams Grove. I think you could see him at Lincoln. I think you could see him at Baps. All the Speed Week shows, I just don't know, because Speed Week is a part of this. Every show at Speed Week is. I just don't know if I just don't see that team running that many races. So I don't think you're going to see many teams run this whole thing. But again, you get some mulligans in there. The format, the point system is going to come out, I guess, tomorrow or next week. I'm not sure how they're going to divide that up, but there's going to be room to miss races, which that depends how you look at it. I mean, the one constant or the one thing that the All-Stars, High Limit, and the World of Outlaws have is that when you buy a ticket, you know who's going to be there, no matter what. This, I think there's going to be a little bit of like the NBA, where they have load management. I think you could have something similar to that here because Anthony Macri is going to go on the road a little bit. Danny Dietrich, I think, is going to miss 5-6 shows. I think Chase Dietz, again, wants to go on the road a little more. There are a couple shows scheduled over the Knoxville Nationals. Now, again, those could be mulligans, but it's how many mulligans do you get, where you are in the points. I think there's a lot of moving pieces there. So this new PA series, as a weekly supporter of Port Royal because of 410 racing, is a big blow. I spend hundreds of dollars a season pass for weekly racing. There's still going to be weekly racing. The series is 47 races. Do I think the races are going to be cut back a little bit? Sure. I do think you're going to see that at Lincoln. I think you're going to see that a couple at Port Royal and a couple at Williams Grove. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Williams Grove lays down for the Friday night of the Weikert Memorial because it's 3 days, something like that. And so, yeah, I mean, I saw Port Royal was taking a pretty big beating on social media with their new season ticket deal and not having that does their reserve seat, I guess, doesn't count for high limit shows, which I know that drew the ire of a lot of people. That's going to be the sticky part of this. If you cut back races and, don't decrease your season ticket pass, which I don't think they are as of now, from what I gather, that becomes a problem to fans. And I know talking to one promoter, they said, well, they're saving hundreds of dollars anyway. Fans want to continue to save those hundreds of dollars instead of maybe only 200. So again, that's one of the concerns. I mean, what happens with that? And how many rainouts do you get if you cut your races and there's a ton of rainouts? That's going to hurt the value even more. So I do think there's some things that need to be worked out here. Danny Sam switching to Woo. I've heard nothing as of yet. I called around a little today. I didn't get to Danny Sam's, admittedly. So I'm not sure what he's doing. I'm sure he's looking at both options, though. When does a team need to commit to high limit or Woo? Really, I mean, for Woo, you can run. I mean, again, if you're waffling between World of Outlaws and high limit, you probably have up until Vegas. So I would say March. They do different. World of Outlaws do different packages for the new drivers or the rookies. I think it's up to, I think Carter said in his interview with Connor Wade, July 14th or June 14th. It was somewhere in there. You get scaled down benefits until you're there for that second half of the year. High limit, I'm unsure of when that is, if Chase Rodman's on here, but if you're picking between the two and you go to Vegas, you're obviously not going to commit to the World of Outlaws. So I think that's kind of where it's at. How about them Cowboys? Yeah, stunned. I have some different thoughts on that. I wasn't sold on that they got premium value for Micah Parsons. I'm fine that they traded him. Last I checked, the defensive end is or linebacker, whatever you want to call him. He's a hybrid. Is going to win you a Super Bowl. He's not TJ Watt and he's not Myles Garrett. That's a fact. Just all you have to do is watch the games. So he's not as good as either of those two. So I was okay if they traded him. And, they look pretty good now. So we'll see. With the Outlaws going back to Ohio the weekend after the National Open, does Lincoln lose its second date? Yes. That appears to be now. I guess that could be a 1-year thing. The schedule's going to change next year because everything will be slotted back a week from 2026. But yes, next year that schedule's. I don't see them at Lincoln a second date. But again, it could come back in 2027. All right. What else do we got? Loved Ryan Hand deep dive. Yeah. Well, Ryan Hand's great. I love having him on the podcast. He brings a lot of good insight. He's funny. He's, his delivery makes me laugh sometimes, and I'm lucky to have him a part of the show, and it was good to get him on the deep dive. John on line 1. John, what do you got?
Hey, Jeremy, just want to ask you one question here. This new Sprint Car Pennsylvania Posse Sprint Car Series.
Yep.
You probably know more about it than anybody that I know of. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that here for us today, us listeners?
Okay, well, I can tell you it's going to be 10 races at Lincoln. It's going to be 10 at
Williams Grove.
10 at Williams Grove, 9 at Port Royal. There'll be 2 at Bedford, 2 at Clinton County, 4 at Selinsgrove, 4 at Baps, 2 at Bridgeport, 2 at Bath Valley, 1 at Hagerstown, 1 at Grandview. That's kind of how it's going to lay out. There's go ahead.
Well, they said they weren't going to race against any big shows. Now, did they mean big shows like Eldora and Knoxville, or do they mean big shows
here
like the Tuscarora 50 and the
correct
and the National Open?
Correct.
Those are the big shows to talk about.
Yeah, they're talking about the big shows here. There are no races scheduled against the Kings Royal that I know of. There are a couple against the Knoxville Nationals, and there's one. I believe there's one the weekend of the Huset's High Bank Nationals. And I think there's one against Let's Race 2 and Ohio Speed Week, but are right around there, like within a day where you're not going to make it back. But yeah, they meant big races here.
The ones that are around here. So the thing is really designed and built around the Pennsylvania Posse then, actually.
It is
set up for.
Yeah, there's no sanctioned shows that are going to be a part of it. I think. I mean, look, again, the two big positives are the tracks are working together. Now, again,
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I have some concerns, ticket pricing at some of the shows. I don't know if it's enough to keep teams at home because the minimum payment $6,000 to win and $600 to start. So
that's what Chase Rodman was saying.
Yeah, so
that's a minimum. So some of them might be more than that. He said.
Well, yeah, because like the Weldon Sterner, that'll be part of the series.
Yeah.
There's going to be Williams Grove tribute races are going to be part of. So those are established events that are just going to be part of the series. Yes.
Yeah, they're not going to water them down or anything. They're going to stay the way they are.
Right.
But,
yes.
And then the other thing was about drops. Are they going to have any drops? If you know what I'm talking about.
Mulligans?
Like
yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3 shows you could miss.
Yes, three. I believe it's 3 shows you can miss, and I think they're probably. And this is the one thing I'm not aware of how they're going to do it, but I think maybe your 3 worst shows or something, which.
Yeah.
I never understood that.
40-some shows?
Huh?
Isn't there 40-some?
47.
40-some?
47.
So you can count your best 43 or something like that?
Yeah, 44. I mean,
nature.
I never
44.
I never understood that because, Speed Week points don't drop a show. I mean, if you need mulligans, that's a problem to me.
Yeah, I understand. I think, well, it's popular in go-kart racing because families go on vacation.
Right.
You know, there's other things going on, but they, you know, they got graduation. You know, they got all that kind of stuff that's going on throughout the summer or toward the end of the summer. And they have these drops. That's all. You know, count the best so many out of so many. And one other thing that I was wondering about was, is it the driver or the car owner or both, or how's that work?
That I'm unsure of.
Switch rides sometimes.
Yeah, I'm unsure of who is getting paid out of that. So I'm sure that'll come out in a release over the next week or so.
Who's actually running the thing? I mean, who's?
Well, it's all the.
I know all the tracks have got together and agreed.
Yeah, all the tracks.
Somebody though.
Yeah, no, all the tracks have gotten together. Jerry Parrish at Lincoln has been kind of spearheaded it, I would say, but all the tracks are involved.
You gonna have all the video rights to it then?
No.
On your deal?
No.
Too bad.
No, I will
really
not
help you out.
That's all
what
right.
will they do there? Will they try and get somebody to stream the ones that aren't being streamed, or?
I think you're going to see a fourth streaming company, which is also a problem.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I hope they stream it, but I can't. Well, I could never make all those.
Right.
40 some, I don't think.
No, they will.
Right.
They will all likely be streamed.
Okay, Jeremy. I'll let you go. Just keep us posted.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We got Ken online too. Ken, how are you?
Pretty good this week, Jeremy. A couple of quick thoughts. I was thinking a lot about the high limit and this new process that they're come up with. And somebody said earlier about Danny Sands possibly going WOO. Well, I talked to the lady in his T-shirt van down in Charlotte, and she said that he was leaning towards staying with high limit. He did enjoy that very much, and he was leaning that way, but he was still thinking about the Outlaws. But the one thing that I think it'd be a real good thing for you to do on your deep dive is talk to Danny Sands, Chase Randall, and Cy Lynch and see what their feelings are, because they devoted the whole year to him last year. And if they come back and run a whole year this year, there's no guarantee that they're still going to be into this big money program.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with them not coming out in 2024. I mean, look, they're going to lose a year. I understand it because it was a 2-year cycle to start the franchise system in 2026. And so now they come out in 2025 and they have 2026. And, you know, I mean, that's how it is. I mean, yeah, it was the second year of a 2-year cycle to earn the franchise. So they weren't there in 2024. So you don't get that bonus.
And they get nothing for being there all of last year. They're still starting basically the same as if somebody comes in new.
Yes.
They're in the same situation.
But they did get paid point money last year.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely, yeah. No, I'm not saying that I think they definitely should bolt because of that, but I'm curious what their feelings are on it. I mean, like I say, they when they originally joined, they figured if they ran 2 years back to back, they were going to be included in the franchise system. But now with going to the cards instead of the franchises, it's changed a little bit.
I don't know what they were told. I did talk to Cy Lynch and Danny Sands down in Charlotte, and they were aware. It seemed like they were aware of the situation, and they were both going to check out what the World of Outlaws were offering, which we of course found out. And now they got to make a choice. So at that point, you know, it's up to them. I'm sure they knew what was going on beforehand.
Yeah, I'm sure Lynch and even Randall, if he runs like he did at the end of the year, would probably get into the top 10 in points next year. I don't see any of them getting into the top 3,
No.
which would definitely do it. But I can see them getting into the top 10. But then they still have to do it for another year. So, but that's just my thoughts. I'd be interested to hear what they do think of it, and whether that would be the main thing that would send them over to the WOO. But the other thing I was wondering, I know there's going to be 47 races, and they're not going to include any of the bigger shows. But when they're not racing, I'm sure they're going to, like Port Royal is going to have to be racing other than those 10 sanctioned or 9 sanctioned races and the 8 high limit. They're going to have more than 17 nights of racing. Are they basically going to have like late models on those nights, or?
No, the weekly racing is not going away. There's going to be.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No.
The people that are worried about their season tickets, there's going to be racing other nights that aren't going to include the 410 sprints, I'm sure.
Correct. They're in. I think they'll probably cut back a few, but again, there's going to be weeks where Lincoln and Port Royal run against each other. There's only so many Saturday nights. They just won't be series races or big races. So weekly racing's not going away yet. Although I think this series definitely, I think it does have an effect on weekly racing. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, those are the two things I'm thinking about, and I look forward to see how everything works out. It's going to be a crazy next couple of months before we go racing. So you have a good week and a good Thanksgiving, John.
Yep. Same to you. Thank you very much, Ken. All right. You can invite Rosie O'Donnell or Taylor Swift over for Thanksgiving dinner. Who gets the invite? Well, probably Taylor Swift. Probably. I wouldn't see why I'd ever invite Rosie O'Donnell over. What question would you ask Brian Carter? What question would I ask him? I haven't really sat down and thought. I don't think Connor Wade asked him. I asked a couple people who commented on it, and I said, what question would you want to know? Because they were saying they were softballs. And I guess one of my questions would be, do you regret not working with High Limit at the beginning of the beginning of when they just wanted to be a midweek series within the World of Outlaws? I would probably ask that. I would probably ask, probably something about revenue with Dirt Vision, which I know he wouldn't answer. It's really not our business to know. He's a private company, so he can do what he wants. But other than that, I don't think Carter avoided anything. I just think he's very savvy. But I would ask him, do you regret even a little bit not working with High Limit within the framework of the World of Outlaws at the beginning of this thing? Brian Carter took some thinly veiled shots at High Limit, acting like High Limit fails. It will hurt the sport. I disagree. It just means that those teams made good money for a few years, then back to pre-High Limit. I've often said this. If something happens, you just go back and do what you normally did. That's what I said about Carson Macedo last week. If he jumps ship, the options are open. If he wins the points, he gets $350,000. He's going to get a franchise for 2028. He runs the next year. He bags his franchise. He's either going to be 1 or 2 or 3, which pays him a lot of money. And if he doesn't want to do it again, he can sell it because there'll be a buyer. There was a buyer this year, and everybody said there wouldn't be. And then he can go back to running the Outlaws, and the Outlaws will welcome him with open arms. So I don't see the loss. Yeah, I agree totally. It's not a loss in any way. Come on, everybody, let's get these likes rolling. Yeah, I mean, I like that. Okay. How many new guys do you think Wu and High Limit will have each? I think you could have as many as 4 with the World of Outlaws. I think High Limit 2 or 3. 2 or 3. Tom on line 3. Tom, what do you got for me?
Well, I was interested in the what happened with the Bloomsburg trial, and I couldn't find anything about it. So I went on the Bloomsburg Town Hall site, and there hasn't been anything decided yet. They're going to have another meeting in January and possibly one in February. It sounds to me like they're going to go to they're going to put it before the citizens of Bloomsburg to see if they what they want to do, because they said that if they lose the case, they're going to have to pay. The town is going to have to pay the fair $1 million. So I think what's going to happen, is just my opinion, unless somebody else was there that knows, I just think they're going to have some town hall meetings, and they're going to decide, the people are going to tell them if they want to pay the $1 million or they want to let them race. I mean, that's the way it seems to me.
No,
because
yeah,
they said right on the town hall site that if they lose the case, they have to pay the fair $1 million. That's right on the site.
Yeah, I mean, it's now what that equals. I mean, the population of Bloomsburg's 13,000 as in 2025. Right. So let's say 10,000 adults. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I would say it's probably only about a third of that. That's a college town.
Yeah, that's true. It is a college town. That's a good point. I know somebody who goes.
It's a college town, and a lot of these people are kids. They aren't going to pay tax.
Well,
I'd say it's about a third of the 13,000.
Well, so now you're looking at about 3,500. So divide.
I don't know what it would.
So divide that into $1 million.
It would probably cost each one of them about $200, $300.
Yeah, I mean, is that worth
something like that?
I mean, is that really going to be a problem for families who it's $285?
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but I think they're going to I think they're going to put it before the town to see what they want to do, if they want to allow racing or pay the money.
Well, that was the problem to start with. So either way, they're not going to race next year because that's going to drag out.
We'll see. I don't know, but I think if they do race, they're going to have to get some divisions started that other than sprint cars and late models. Good divisions there would be the speedsters. Tobias had them there. Tobias was helping them with the track, and they had the track good. But the speedsters were having trouble with getting motors. They couldn't get those Dodge Omni motors anymore. So then they had I don't know what they went to, if they went to something else or if they're getting them now or not. But those speedsters are good on that track. And another one that's good is the the IMCA modified, they call them in New York. If they could get that division started there, that's another good division there for that track. They've had them there, and they look good there. But you have to start. They're going to have to start and build divisions other than sprint cars and late model. Ain't going to work there.
Well, it's either
That's what I see.
Well, we'll see what happens. Again, it's going to depend what the town votes for, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. But all right, I got to get back.
No, I just thought maybe somebody else was at the meeting and they know something more than I'm just taking an educated guess on what was on the town hall's website. That's.
Well, let's see if anybody in the chat heard anything. Just stay tuned to the chat. Usually we get stuff in there. So, all right, Tom, thank you very much.
All right, that's all I have.
Thank you very much for calling. I appreciate it.
All right.
Yep.
Maybe somebody else was.
All right. What else do we got? What's your opinion on the All-Star schedule? I like it. Now, let's not get more than 30. Well, I believe it was 33. I think it was 33 races. Let's keep it in that realm. Let's not get back up to 40 and 50, So I liked it. I think it's good that they have some co-sanction shows that, it's going to help the car count, obviously, at Lawrenceburg, especially. So, yeah, I think that's a win-win. I like their schedule. I like what the All-Stars are doing. I said it the other day. I like what Power Eye's doing. I think I think it's funny. Everybody said 2 national series would kill regional racing, and I just don't see it. So I like what the All-Stars are doing. We'll see what happens on the West Coast with NARC. I would consider that a regional series. They got a lot of work to do on that. So, but otherwise, I think IRA's doing well. I think Power Eye looked good, and the All-Stars are in a good spot. Any feelers who will be DeWeese's crew chief? I wouldn't be surprised if it's his brother, Kirk. That's who I would, that's who I would lean toward now. But I guess there's a couple different options there. What's your favorite Thanksgiving side dish? What is this? Potato filling. So I'm Pennsylvania Dutch, and it looks like it. Sorry, Jeremy, I can listen for a half an hour. There's midget racing to California at 8:00. Go with God. I can't get into midgets. I just can't. I just can't. But thank you for the half hour. Racetrack should allow betting on qualifying heats and mains, not online at the track like horse racing. Your thoughts? You need a small chance and gaming license. Those aren't easy to get. They're not easy to get. So they only give out so many in a certain area, and I just at this point I don't think we'll see that. All right. Hi, Jeremy. Will PPS stand down for the Knoxville week? No, they will not. There's a couple shows the weekend of the Knoxville Nationals. Do you think it's smart for the new PA series to go against the Knoxville Nationals? I mean, I think they're giving some mulligans. So, I mean, I don't think anybody in sprint car racing should run against the Kings Royal or Knoxville Nationals. Tennis doesn't play against the U.S. Open. Golf does not play against the U.S. Open or Wimbledon. Or I should say the U.S. Open in golf. They don't play against the PGA Championship. There's no NFL games against the Super Bowl. Hell, college won't play on a playoff weekend or on a playoff day. So I think it's okay if the sport shuts down for a weekend. I don't think it hurts anybody. So that's my thought on running against it. And I think the same for the Kings Royal week. I just don't get it. One of the problems, you can't have an event stand out. If you want to make an event like the Knoxville Nationals, which is the premier event in the sport, stand out, shut down and focus on it. If you're a racetrack, if you have a Jumbotron, now not everybody has one, but if you do, run some kind of special, bring in food trucks, whatever, and have a watch party. Do something. If you want to run a different division, I'm okay with that. But 410s against the Knoxville Nationals makes no sense to me. And the same with the Kings Royal. Just doesn't. Is potato filling an Amish dish? No, it's kind of a central Pennsylvania thing, but it's only parts of central Pennsylvania. I saw Brent Smith say it's overrated. Him and I argue about this all the time. He's a stuffing guy, but he can't help he doesn't know. So, which I'm sure he'll throw something at me the next time I see him. But yeah, it's a central Pennsylvania. It's not Amish per se. Jim from Buffalo, live from outer space on line 4. Jim, I got to ask, it was not a good week for you again. Are you okay?
Oh, I'm just fine. The Bills are one game different than they were this time last year. They finished strong,
Okay. Well, they have fundamental
until the
problems.
referees that were dressed in red to support the Chiefs made some calls like they always do.
Stop it. You just stop it. They're flawed. Say it. They're flawed. That's it.
Yeah, well, I know that. You know that. I can't admit it, but so.
What do you got for me, Jim?
Hey, the Sabres won 3 out of 4, so
well,
we're looking better.
Got that working for you.
But yeah, I want to roll through this. But somebody said there about the guy talking to the T-shirt lady. I'll tell you what, the T-shirt ladies know a lot more than they let on, because a lot of times they're the wives, the moms, or sometimes the sisters of the drivers. They know the dollars and cents.
Yeah. And also they're close to the driver.
Exactly. One thing I did see, stood out on Carter's interview last night was this thing about venture capitalists. Yeah, there was a lot of them that are investing in Flow, but eventually a venture capitalist wants to cash out. So, what happens then if they pull the rug and say, hey, I made enough money, I want to cash out, give me my investment plus, my interest on top of it. I mean, that's a touchy situation.
Well, here's the thing about Flow. They've been around for a while, and I think these guys are probably already getting money. I mean, they just bought the rights to the AHL recently, which they have wrestling's a monster. They have college wrestling, they have international wrestling, they have high school wrestling now, which I know they have states in Pennsylvania, which is one of the biggest states. So I don't think they're hurting. I think there's probably a strategy for that. Florini, who owns the company, I think they're probably on top of everything that they need to be on top of. I mean, I think people want to know where every dime comes from sometimes. And honestly, this whole racing thing is fragile. I don't care if you're the Outlaws. I don't care if you're High Limit. It's all fragile. It's none of it is concrete like the sports we were just talking about earlier. So
yeah, go ahead.
No. So I think sometimes we get wrapped up in where it comes from, but then when it comes to other things, we don't do that. So to me, obviously they have a commitment through 2029. I think anything's possible after that, and we'll see what happens. They put a big investment in racing. They've cut back on some of the series stuff. I've heard some of the numbers for some of the other things that they have, and and the numbers that they have for subscribers. So I think they're doing just fine. So we'll see how it all pans out.
I got you. One comment on the chat, though. I never said I had only one question, so and I won't be on for 20 minutes. But yeah, I go with what you said about being fragile because you look over at the turnover in teams and everything that we traditionally have, and I mean, okay, so High Limit has that thing out there, 3 years, and in the future you can do this. I mean, how many teams stay together for 3 years?
Well, that's why it goes to the owner. I mean, drivers are basically they're saying drivers can come and go, but the owner is the owner, and that's who's going to get the stipend or the franchise money. So that's, I think, and let's face it, that's not new. The All-Stars paid the owner. The Outlaws pay half to the owner. So it's not a new thing. It's not some, oh my word, the owner, this has been done before. So
yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I mean, again, a driver's interchange. Not that they're interchangeable. You're not going to replace David Gravel. You're not going to replace Buddy Kofoid. And on the High Limit side, replacing Rico, good luck, stuff like that. But it's still the owner. And honestly, it's up to each driver to negotiate their contract to get a piece of that.
Right. I agree. And speaking of Buddy, yeah. Well, I know racers race, but that midget deal he had last week, that was not cool.
Look, I got a message to Carson Macedo does it because of Dyson. I have a message for Buddy and I have a message for Carson. Stop driving the midget.
I couldn't agree more. But yeah, so that PA series I think that's going to be good for PA because depending on their ticket prices, because the state was getting kind of waterlogged. But anyways, and like I say, always go Bills. We're a drinking town with the football and hockey problems, so I realize where I am.
By the way, who do the Bills have this week?
Some team from Western Pennsylvania.
So they get Pittsburgh. Where do they have
that? They play in Pittsburgh. Yeah. The ones that
stay away.
People like Calvin Knapp are asking to fire Tomlin for the last 5 years.
Yeah, Pappy Nappy doesn't like Tomlin. That's okay. So, all right, Jim. Thank you.
All right, hey, happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody. See ya. Bye-bye.
Same to you. Thank you. Jim is always good. Always like having Jim call in. Again, was going to send out a wellness check on the other night, but who in the sprint car world would you like to interview that you haven't? Wow. Oof. Rico Aber's dad. I'd like to interview Rico Aber's dad, but I don't. That's a tough get. I had a friend of mine in California suggest that, and I was like, ooh, that would be a good interview. So Rico Aber's dad. Buddy's racing tonight. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Look, I don't see Tom Brady walking into a CFL game. Well, let's use a current player. I don't see Patrick Mahomes walking into a CFL game, and that's the equivalent of Buddy Kofoid going to race a midget. So it's too much can happen. I just don't. I saw that flip the other night. I'm just like, you know what? You something happens, you get injured, and then you're out for Volusia. God forbid. And then what happens? So, yeah, that's. I have a problem with it. Pecan, pumpkin, or sweet potato pie? A fat guy needs to know. I do not eat pie. I'm not a pie guy. If you have angel food cake, I'm down. There you go. Fat guy. Will we see an annual SprintCarUnlimited TV package soon? No, you won't. And the reason you won't is because we directly revenue share with the racetrack. I can't do that if, were spread across, one, like when we do Speed Week and stuff, how do you divide it up? And I'm not going to get into that. We're here to protect the racetrack. We're here to be partners with the racetrack, and we want to get them the most that they can earn. We want people to go to the track. That's first and foremost. That's why we do it individually. We want to be an alternative for people who can't make it. So no desire at all to, we just can't do it. I mean, it's just, that's it. Sorry. So the big question, besides the Grove on Dirt Vision and Port on Flow, do they have a streaming deal? Who's they? Lincoln is starting their own streaming deal. I think it's going to be PA Posse TV or whatever. So they'll do all the Lincoln shows, except the Outlaws and except the All-Stars, obviously. And then I think they'll do some of these fringe series races at, Bedford or other places. I think that's what they're trying to do. Do you think HUD's rumored move to KCP is a step up in terms of team finances, sponsorship dollars? I think it's lateral. I mean, look, it's going to be the same. It's going to be Ripper's going to be on it. They have Morrison engines. Obviously, Morrison's are under the 2 cars. So, I mean, I think you could say Morrison's is probably a step up. I think the 17s had more success than the 18, but you're moving guys over. So I'm right now, I'm calling it lateral. I don't think it's a step up, but I don't think it's a step down. Any chance the series moves into Western PA in the future? No. I mean, if they do, it's nuts. I don't think they should be at Bedford. I'm sorry, but on a Sunday for Central Pennsylvania teams to go to Bedford's a haul. So I think your Western your Western PA teams are going to have to carry that show, because guys who work the next day, it's going to be a problem. So I think that's one of my concerns for this series for certain tracks. I'm not saying the series is all bad and poo-poo. I'm saying I have concerns. A couple concerns I have, since I know they're going to come up. I'm concerned that it makes the weekly show obsolete. Either fans are going to pay for series races, or they're going to pay a cheaper price to see the same people on a weekly show with the chance of seeing. It'll be the chance that they see them. So, or does your car count drop at weekly shows? I mean, it's a fair question. I don't think we know how this is going to shake out yet. If you cut your schedule down to 25 races and you lose 10 of them, and you're at 15, you lose 10 of them because of rain, because weather obviously has hit Pennsylvania hard at times in the last couple of years. Are your season ticket holders going to be okay with 15 races? I don't think so. Not in this area. Not here. So that's a concern for me. Ticket prices are always a concern for me at this point. I have the same concern for High Limit in the World of Outlaws. So this isn't just a series thing. It's all the way around. I don't think it's a great look at that you only have a couple guys run the entire series. The other thing is there's a sanction fee for these races. And I know this because, and I don't think he'd be upset, Danny Dietrich has a race at Bridgeport, and there's a sanction fee that they have to pay to be part of the series. And what happens if you're a track like Clinton County or Bedford? The sanction fee feeds the point fund. So if the sanction fee, that's coming off the top and that's cut into the profit. Well, if the event isn't profitable, are they going to come back in 2027? Well, that's going to drop your point fund. That's an issue. So I have some questions about how this. I personally think 47 races is too much because they can't go up. You tapped out on that. You can't go up to 60. You can't go up to 70. So the only place you could go is down. I would have rather seen it start at 2025 and work your way up, start with a modest point fund, and then work your way up. That would have been my tact with it. But again, the great part of it is tracks are working together, and there's going to be races that they're unopposed, which I think is great. Should have happened a long time ago. But I do have some underlying concerns with the financial end of it, for teams and for fans. And I'm leery that, with a sanction fee, which is it's $4,000 per event. So, if you only made $3,000 on a show last year, if you're, let's say, Bridgeport, and now you pay that $4,000, everything is created equal, and you drop down and you're losing $1,000 now, are you going to come back to the series? Okay, so now you got to take that $4,000 and minus it out of the point fund, I assume. So now your point fund's dropping. These are problems that I have some concerns with that. How will the new PA series affect Macri's schedule next year? Thanks for a great show. I don't know right now. I've talked to them a couple times, and I see them doing the same thing they always do. So I expect him to miss 10 races, somewhere in that neighborhood. Now he's going to win a lot when he's here. So I think he can still finish second, or maybe third in the standings. Look at the hose head deal. But I mean, I don't know. But you're not going to take a guy who wins the King's Royal and keep him at home. You're not going to they're going to want to get laps at Knoxville. Every outlaw show at Knoxville, there's a series race. Macri is going to go to Knoxville and get some laps. It's going to happen. So I would be surprised if he's not at Let's Race 2 in May. So again, because he wants to get laps at Eldora. So I think I think he can miss 10, or maybe. I think it could depend on where he is in points at the end of, I don't know, June. It's hard to say with that. Please, no timed hot laps for the series races. I do not know the format. It's going to be probably time trials of some sort, speed week. It's going to be something like that. It's going to be some form of time trials. There's no way you're going to avoid that. Jeremy, why not have the same attitude about the PA series you do high limit, which means it'll be if it doesn't work and just go back to the old way. Here's the difference. High limit's not working with anyone. Let's say this doesn't go well. Are the tracks going to continue to work together ever again? Well, that's a step back. There's a big difference between local racing and a national series. Way different. There's no comparison to it. High limit has proven they're going to pay what they're going to pay. We have 2.5 years, if you count their first year, which we have a sample size, and they've met every requirement. Now, after 2026, if everything goes well, great. That is fantastic for the area. Then we can just build on it. That would be great. But you can't, I don't know how you can have concern considering the ecosystem in central Pennsylvania. It's not the same thing. It's apples and oranges, and I'm not saying it's going to go sideways. I'm saying I have concerns, and I also said they have some really good things, which again is the series. or that they're working together to do something, and they're running unopposed. Who are the two teams you think will run the series? I think it's going to be Troy Wagaman. I think will run the series, and I think Freddie Raymer will run the series. I think they'll be the two steadfast every week guys. And I think maybe you might be having a Kyle Moody will try it. It's a lot. I saw something Chad Trout put out today. It's going to take 3 motor rebuilds to run the series alone. Now, again, I don't run a team, so I don't know if you can stretch that or not. I know some teams have. I think Kyle Moody has at times. So we'll see. I could be wrong on that, but I have talked to a lot of teams. And really, I think everybody knows. I think the organizers already know this. I mean, I've talked to a couple different promoters who are involved in this, and they know that you're not going to have everybody every race. They know this. And I do think there's a learning curve here. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on that. Jeremy Elliott gets butterflies in his tummy when he talks about high. I don't know. I don't understand this. I call it as I see it. I've said bad things about him already. You know, I'd like to see him with more employees on the road. You know, it's not. How many wins for Lance in the 8 car in 26? I'm guessing 6 to 8. I thought Brock would get 6 to 8 last year. I ate that one. 5. 5 at most. Will from California on line 5. Hey, how you doing, Will?
I'm doing all right. Burr, it's cold in California.
It's what?
It's cold.
What do you call cold?
58.
Okay. Well.
58 degrees.
Okay.
I mean, it's not snowing like in your part of the country.
It doesn't snow here much anymore. It's disappointing. I like snow.
So a couple weeks ago, you mentioned that you knew who the new NARC race director is. Do you have any other information that you're willing to release? Because out here, it sounds like crickets. There's nothing happening, nothing I've heard yet.
You know, I've not heard a lot. I've heard very, very little, honestly. I think, well, first off, and they race into November, and and they're still racing midgets and everything like that. So I have not, Will, believe it or not, I tell you, I have not heard a lot. I know the race director or the guy who's going to be running it. I've heard that he is pretty good. And either way, they got to change some things. There's got to be more faith in the series from the lower teams, the mid to lower teams, and really even some of the higher teams. I think Brad's got a quite the undertaking on his hand. Brad and Rudine have quite the undertaking. So we'll see what happens, but I do not have any other information on it.
Have you heard, it's funny that people come to the state. This is not anything about racing, but people come to the state in November and decide, hey, let's go to the beach. Next thing you know, they're in the ocean and drowning. What is going on with that?
Look, I have no answer. Will, I have no clue. I stay out of the ocean. I don't belong there. I don't live there. So I'm not going there. Going in the ocean.
Also, the other thing I wanted to ask you was, I keep seeing a new series popping up here, a new series popping up over there.
Mhm.
Is there enough cars to run these series that are all these new series that are happening?
I mean, I think if there's I don't think Ohio can start another series. I like Ohio's jumbled up because they have Fast and the All-Stars. Like, I think that gets jumbled, but really you have Power Eye, which is kind of that lower Midwest. You have our deal now here. You have the All-Stars, and then you have IRA, and you have NARC, and then you have that MSTS or whatever. It's in the Midwest, but I don't know. And then you get into that deal up in River Cities. But I do think there's a point where there's too much. And I think we're at that point now where we're capped out. I don't want to see anything else. I just don't. But they gotta fix NARC. That's one thing.
Somebody asked a question earlier about if Pennsylvania track racing on the same weekend that Knoxville is. I think that's okay as long as most or a lot of those guys aren't going to Knoxville.
Yes, but no. I don't care. You think they wouldn't appreciate the weekend off? You think, because a lot of people stay home and watch it.
All right. Well, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and you, Jeremy, especially. And
thank you very much.
We'll see you again soon.
Yep, Will. Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Have you watched any of the Australian racing from this past weekend? Was a pretty good show at Talmer. I did not, unfortunately. I've been trying to catch up on some things after the season's over. I will start tuning into that probably this weekend. I've had some things I've had to take care of here, and obviously with the site. By the way, to everybody, the Black Friday / holiday special is in effect. Some people asked about it in the last few weeks. It's $28 for a subscription. If you use the coupon code holiday 2026 at checkout, there you go. It's up and running. All right. Let's clean out some. I bet Dennis Ross Hart skipped a beat Saturday night when Kofoid took a wicked flip in California. Yeah, I understand he likes it. I mean, but man, I just wouldn't take that chance. And it's not Chili Bowl either. Chili Bowl's a little different, I think. But hey, risk versus reward. Risk versus reward. He likes doing it. I'm not going to tell him not to do it, but I do think it's a risk. Merch. Okay, one thing at a time. I got the promotional special up. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. Have you heard anything about Tyler Esch's plans for next year? I have not. I have not heard anything about his plans. For a minute there, I thought you meant Travis. I was going to say he's not fielding the team, but no, I have not heard anything about Tyler Esch going into next year. When will World of Outlaws schedule be released? Carter said it'd be in a week or two. I wouldn't be surprised if it's close to, there's a service, or I wouldn't doubt if it's released near PRI. They've done that before. So I'd say a week or two. Oh, did Eric get lost? Eric's having problems. He gave me the 1-up sign. Dr. Midnight on line 6. Doctor, how are you doing?
Hello, pretty good. I agree with Will. It's freezing out here. It's in the low 50s.
Will you survive?
I turned the heater on.
Get
Hard
out
to
of
take,
here.
but I'm going to make it simple. I'm going to make it short. I got one question for you. One question.
Go ahead.
It's a yes or no. I don't want to hear any analyzation. I don't want to hear anything but a yes or no.
Okay.
Because you didn't clarify this a couple weeks ago.
I know where you're going. Go
Does
ahead.
Buddy Kofoid win the Outlaw Championship in 2026?
No.
Okay. I say he does.
2020.
Bets on. What do you want to bet?
Wait, I'm going to say 2027 he does.
Okay. We don't care about that. Next year you say no. What do you want to bet?
$50.
Okay.
All right.
It's on.
All right. Good deal.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Gotta love Dr. Midnight. Just gets to it. All right. Would you raise the number of outside races a platinum team can run? No. I don't think there's any reason to. I think there's some teams who I think there's some guys who didn't use them all this year. And in all honesty, there's not a lot of times you can use more than that. I mean, case in point, David Gravel can't go to Port Royal and run the Weikert now because they're at Knoxville Huset's. There is no reason to raise it at this point. I don't think it would matter if they did. I think there's only so many times where they're close enough where they could do it. So I just don't think it's necessary. I have no problem with everybody, because, I'm such a high limit homer. I have no problem with the Outlaws doing what they do as far as protecting their product. None at all. I think it's fine. Now, do we have evidence that a Tuesday or Wednesday show affects a weekend show? No, we don't. No, nobody's ever done a study. Nobody's ever done a survey. But I also have no problem with the Outlaws perceiving that and also keep doing what they feel is right for their business. No problem at all. So I guess that sounded like a high limit homer. Fantasy scenario. Oh God. Big Game Motorsports enters a car in high limit, driven by Donnie Schatz, which would never happen because he hates high limit. The 10-time Outlaws champion invades and gets a charter. Never going to happen. I don't deal in fantasy. I deal in reality. It's not going to happen. Where will Dr. Midnight and Swank make their yearly appearance on the podcast? Thank you, Mr. Tyler will be doing the Christmas show. We will have a Christmas show. We're going to give Ryan a break, and Swank will be back. Dr. Midnight, I don't know. We'll see. It'll be out of nowhere where nobody knows when he's coming in. Jeremy, do you know what happened to ASA? No, I don't. It's, I saw the comment that, what happened to ASA. How can I not be worried about high limit? It's two different things. Look, people think the franchise with NASCAR or the charter with NASCAR is the same as high limit. It's not even close to the same scenario. It's not even close. So I'm not going to compare what happened to ASA with high limit. I just think there's no basis for it. Thoughts on Ian Madsen finding out he wasn't driving for TCAS same way we all did. Ouch. That stings a bit. I don't think that's handled correctly. But tough business. That's tough. I mean, that doesn't happen too often. So it's been a while since I've heard something like that. That's a big ouch. Anything about the Knoxville Nationals format you don't like or would change? Love the show. there's anything I don't like. Not really. I mean, look, the 50 lap thing, I can take it or leave it. I see both sides of the complaint, a fuel stop. Basically, it's like 225s. So I don't know. Otherwise, I mean, I'd like to see it go back to 35 laps, one shot. That's it. Otherwise, I'm fine with it. High Limit is running the worst tracks in Wisconsin this year. Yeah, Gondik, I guess it's Gondik. Didn't the Outlaws run that recently, or I thought they did. I think you get what you can get up there. It's a region that's tough to break into. It's very Outlaws centric. It's what it is. I mean, Scott Boy, there's a lot of ties to the Outlaws in Wisconsin. So I think Brad is left kind of to get what he can get there. So yeah, I think that's going to happen. The facilities I was at, I liked Wisconsin a lot. Sugar Bear should know that. With there being a healthy pool of money for non-franchise teams, why would a team switching to High Limit buy a franchise? I don't think if a team switching this year, they would buy a franchise, but if you finish out of the top 8 in the next 2 years, or if you say don't come in the next 2 years and you come in before 2028, or maybe a team sells one in 2027, then you do it. So I think it becomes, if you don't meet the qualifications for whatever reason, that's why you would buy it. But again, the price goes up. So I've heard you mention a few times that in 2027, the schedule will go back to normal. What makes the 2026 schedule not normal? It's kind of funny because half the races are moved back a week, like Knoxville's moved back a week. But then Williams Grove National Open isn't. The Kings Royals, the swing through PA for the Outlaws is moved back a week in July. Certain races are back a week because of the calendar. It's a leap year. So, but then there's other races that aren't. So I really don't understand why some are and some aren't. But everybody's saying in 2027, when the calendar goes back to normal, these races will be in their regular spots. It's just a leap year thing. Why is there so few written contracts between drivers and owners in sprint car racing? I mean, it's a good question. I know if I was driving a car, I would want a contract. I know some drivers have had contracts and have demanded certain things, but I don't know why. I don't think everybody's a great businessman in sprint car racing. I know that's hard to believe, but I would definitely protect myself if I was a driver at this point. There's too much money out there, both with the World of Outlaws, High Limit, and now on the local level too. I mean, even this PA series, think about it. It's $1.8 million for purse payout. If you divide that into 47 races, that's $38,000 for a total purse for a 410. If you divide it out on average. Now, some are higher, obviously. The Speed Week shows are higher, especially the Steve Smith tribute races. Astronomical. That's $165,000 at this point. So there's a lot of money out there. And with that, I would want some kind of guarantee. Thoughts on a race taking place on Thanksgiving weekend, paying a 100,000. What is that? I guess 100,000 open invitation for any 410 team, Eldora, Knoxville, or Port Royal. I've talked about this a few times. I would like to see a 410 race in the off season. Now, Thanksgiving might be too close to Charlotte, but something in the off season, and it can't be like a dome or anything like that. You can't. I don't think you can have it in closed quarters like that where something bad can happen. However, I'd like to see one somewhere. I'd like to see one Eldora, Port Royal, whatever, but then you're dependent on weather. You're dependent on a lot of things. It's just so difficult. It's just very, very difficult. Have you ordered the Steve Kinzer book? I have it right up here. Actually, I didn't get a chance to read it yet, but Arbright was kind enough to send one to me, and I'm anxious to read it. I heard it's really good. Interview Silva. Ooh, tough one to get. Tough one to get. Really tough. That's a tough one to get. Does Paige Polyak still race? Yes. Every once in a while. Not as much as she used to, but she races every once in a while. Qualifies really good. Deep dive track owner, chassis builder. Or chassis builder. I'll do either or. I'm not sure what the question is there. I've seen an owner posted today that selling sponsorship for a team becomes difficult with this series. Yeah, that I don't know. I haven't talked to owners about that aspect of it. I mean, it might be. I don't really know. I think it depends on the sponsor and what they're looking for. I think everything's like that. Interview Nick Macri. Yes, that's another one. That's a real good one. I'd love to interview Nick Macri, but I know he won't do it. I'll bug him. I'll bug him in the off season. I'll give him a call and see if I can if I can bait him into doing it, or if I can belittle him into doing it, or something, anything. Yeah, I'd like to have Nick Macri. Nick Macri's a fascinating guy, hard worker, just grinds it out. Started from nothing, and he's done a great job with the obviously Macri Concrete, and he's definitely a workaholic. What else do we got? What about Lucas Wolf running the series? Yeah, I think that's a possibility. That's a name I forgot. I didn't forget many, but yes, Lucas is a possibility. Wish Midwest had something like this. Too many cars just race at Knoxville, and that's it. A couple travel like Husitz here and there, or maybe Jackson. The MSTS is trying, and hope that gets better. I assume even the PA series, the difference in PA, you have all these tracks within an hour and a half, 2 hours. You have to drive 4 to get to Husitz from Knoxville. That's a way different thing, and it makes logistics way more difficult. So I think that's apples and oranges. We're very, very lucky in central Pennsylvania. Very lucky. Where did the Syracuse 100 cease to exist? Did you ever go to it? Yeah, I went to Syracuse when I saw Doug Wolfgang win there in the 8D. So I was there in 1989. It wasn't 100 though. I don't think it was 100. I can't remember back that far. Not on that one. Not on lap count. I didn't think it was 100 laps though. I assume you mean the sprint car race, because obviously they have modifieds there, and I've been there for that as well. What can be done to bring the engine prices down? Is it parts or the labor that's got prices up so high? Good luck. I don't think that. I think that beast is out of the box, and I don't think you're going to change it. I just saw somebody say 2026 is not a leap year. I thought it was. Sorry, but either way, the calendar's changed, and that was the adjustment guys make. So I apologize for that. But yeah, I don't. I forgot my train of thought. What was that other question, Eric? I'm sorry. I just saw that and wanted to acknowledge I screwed up that it was leap year. I know a lot, just not everything. So yeah, I don't know. Go ahead. Put something else up. Sorry about that. Lost my train of thought. Why would someone buy a high limit franchise if they can just race for the Joker money for 2 years? Well, what if they don't meet the qualifications? If they don't finish in the top 3 or the top 8? Or they don't run it. I mean, I could see an Outlaws team now not running this year and then maybe buying in at a later date. I mean, who knows what these teams are going to do? I don't know what the thinking is. We'll see. You still got to finish in the top 8 at minimum for 2 years, or the top 3 once. So not an easy task by any means. NASCAR has ran a few successful throwback weekends in the past. Would something like that work in sprint car world? Retro schemes, cheap prices, different format. It costs a lot to wrap a car. I don't know if teams want to do that. I don't know. After this question, I have an update on something. I just don't think wrapping motor prices, tire bills, things like that. I don't know if you're going to get 24 guys to do that. So I don't know. That seems like an expense, a needless expense, and I don't necessarily think it's going to put more butts in the seats. Eric, just pause a second. Don't pause the stream, but Troy Renfro just reached out to me and said Ian Madsen did know that he wasn't coming back. So I just got a text saying Ian Madsen did know. So he wouldn't go. He doesn't want to elaborate any further. And there you go. I have no other. I just got a text from him. So there you go. Will Jeremy Elliott eventually become the Brian Carter? No chance. I want nothing to do with rules, dealing with the problems. No. I don't need that. I have enough trouble doing, and it's a conflict of interest too. I would never do with the pay-per-view that I have. That's enough. That's about as far as I get, and I'm pretty good at separating it from what I do as far as the website, being unbiased. I know people want to say I favor high limit. That just isn't true. That's just not knowing what I've written in the past. So, yeah, no. I want to be in charge of nothing. I'm in charge of SprintCarUnlimited.com. If you want to purchase the special holiday price up through January 1st, there's a QR code on the screen. Just go to it and scan the QR code, and it'll go to and put in holiday 2026, and you'll be good. All right. What else do we got? Fantasy racing time. Top 10 in California versus the top 10 in Central Pennsylvania on a track, random track in the Midwest. Who wins? Do you get to bring the Northwest guys? Just if you can bring the Northwest guys, I think Anthony Macri is the best one overall. If you combine the two, Anthony Macri is the best guy. He's proven that. I think Danny Dietrich and Justin Sanders right there with each other. Justin qualifies better. Danny can pass cars anywhere, and he moves around more than any other driver I've seen. If Justin's in the 87, that might change it even. That might tilts it in Justin's favor maybe a little bit. Size of track matters, obviously. Once Chase Dietz has looked really, really good. I don't know if California has anybody who I think is as good as Chase Dietz or that combination. But when you start talking your mid guys and your lower guys, the West Coast has more of them. Jesse Schlottfield, Hillier, Klatt. I think, Shane Golobich's really consistent. Dom, if they get the program going. Tyler Thompson came in here and finished sixth in a car he's never been in before. So boy, it's close though. It's close. I think Anthony Macri's the top guy, and then I think Danny and Justin are right there. I think the California, or I should say West Coast guys, and don't forget Trey Starks. I think the West Coast guys are deeper. I just think it's a deeper field. The PA Posse Series, 1.8 million total payout over 47 races is $38,000 per race. Yes, I said that. How does this compare to a regular weekly show at various PA tracks? Port Royal's in that 25 to 26,000 range. I think Lincoln's less. Williams grows pretty close to Port Royal more times than not. Keep in mind, though, the PA Series also has Speed Week, and they have some purses that are a lot bigger. So I think it depends what you do. See, and they did this right. This is another thing this series did that I like. They didn't add shows. They took like the Weldon Sterner, which pays $10,000, and made it a series race. So that purse is higher, and they didn't drop it. So when I said there was two things, there's actually three things I think they did that I really like. The Labor Day duels at Lincoln, those are part of the series. They're not lowering the purse. The minimum is $6,000 to win, $600 to start. So that's probably going to be for your Bridgeport. It's going to be for Bedford, Clinton County, Path Valley. I think there's a few shows at the main sprint car tracks. I think BAPS has to raise two of their shows up out of the four they're doing. So, it levels out. It levels out. Macedo and Buddy currently 1-2 in midget qualifying. What am I getting midget updates here? I'm not sure if they have heard your message. No, I told Carson this. I told him on the phone. I told him, I said, you wouldn't get yelled at as much by people who don't like how you drive. So, look, it's okay. I don't have a big problem that they do it. I cringe. They make their money in 410 sprint car racing, and they make a lot of it. So, do you think Port Royal, for instance, will have support divisions when the new series is at Port? This is another thing that is a concern to me. Let's say pit prices go up a little bit, even if it's a little bit. Your support divisions aren't going to be happy about that. I can tell you now. 358's just had a meeting. No tracks were involved. They just had a meeting with their driver contingent, whoever, I don't know how many showed up. And, there were gripes, so to speak. This doesn't help that. I don't know. And look, I don't know what tracks can charge what they want. They're left at their own devices. They can set it as they choose. But again, if it does go up, that could be a problem. We'll see. I heard the High Limit has got a bunch more miles to drive this year compared to last year. Do you know how many? I do not. That's one thing I didn't look at. The problem with High Limit is you got to add miles outside the series, if that makes sense. If you're going to have them run back to Knoxville, that obviously gets counted in there, even though it's not a high limit deal. I mean, because they're going to run it. So I did not add it up. I never get into adding up miles. I've never done it for the Outlaws. I know people complained about that, and I just don't add it up. They're going to do it anyway, so what's it matter? Jeremy, if Jeff Swindell has his bleeder with a patent because he invented it, shouldn't your Sprint Car Unlimited receive a percentage of profits from the PA Sprint Car Series as well? This is your idea. You know, I talked to Jerry Parrish today, and he did say this is something him and I talked about. I don't remember the conversation. I remember we talked about stuff like this. No, I'm not getting any royalties. No, nor do I want any. I just would like to see 20 to 25 races. I have changed my opinion. I always thought, and this is something, and this is, look, people call it flip-flopping. It's not flip-flopping. It's formulating an opinion on new information. I've started to learn a little bit about the finances a track has. I've always thought you could get rid of weekly racing. You can't do that. You can't get rid of it. Not everybody's Eldora and is going to hit 3-4 home runs a year where they make, $1 million a night. You need cash flow. You have fixed costs, insurance, electric, personnel. You have full-time employees. You've got to have cash flow throughout the year. So you can't just get rid of weekly racings or weekly shows. I thought you could. There was a time where I thought you could and just go with special events only. But I don't think these tracks around here are big enough to do that. They don't have a World 100. They don't have a Kings Royal. They don't have a Knoxville Nationals where you can just readily do that. These tracks depend on weekly racing in some form. Even if the show tanks, it's cash flow. And so I've kind of changed a little bit. I would have rather seen 20 to 25 shows. Yes, that would have made the point fund lower, but I think it gives you a lot of outs. And by that, I mean to increase it, it just gives you more options in the future. So I wish them all the best. I hope it works out. Obviously, I'm in this area, so I hope it works out. I just have some concerns, but at least they're in the room talking, and that's important. Your thoughts on dropping these open red races and letting the drivers manage their tires and fuel better? Open red only if needed. I'm not a big open red guy. I mean, fuel's been a concern since Vegas. And I think tracks have adjusted accordingly. They just cut their laps back by 5. At least that's what's happened here a lot. So, I'm okay with open reds just as long as they're only for fuel. I'm sick of the open reds, and I think a lot of fans are too. But that goes into laps for the work area. That goes into laps, beforehand. It goes into laps. It's just too many laps. New PA series. Please don't say it's going to be time trials at 4 wide for 47 times. I hate to tell you, it's going to be time trials, man. It's going to be time trials for every event. And I don't think we're not going to see 4 wide. I doubt that highly. I don't think they'll do that. I don't, but they're going to see time trials. Now, the first few races of the year, day shows, maybe not. Maybe not. I think that's the only time they won't do it if they don't do it. But other than that, it's going to be time trials. Get ready. Volusia would be a good one for a race late in the year, added to the memorial race. Okay. Seats a decent amount of people. I'm not against it. I really would like to see an off season, but man, they don't really get an off season anymore in sprint car racing. Now you have Australia, you have High Limit going down there, and I wouldn't doubt if they add another race down, like say the Classic or something. I don't know. It's just, and I don't think they want to take away from that. So it's a pipe dream, but I think it's good. I think it's been good for late model racing. When you covered NASCAR, did you travel to a lot of the tracks? I covered Pocono, Dover, Richmond. Those were the tracks I was at. Favorite was Dover. They had a casino. Swear to God. You should interview PA's gift to sprint car racing, Shawn Michael. I'm sure that could come up. Sure, you already said it, but who is your favorite to win the Porsche Cup in 2026 with the new Danny Dietrich? If he gets 3 mulligans, depending on rainouts, Danny Dietrich. I think it's made for him. It's going to be $50,000 on top. I think he can go home to his wife and say, hey, how do you want to spend our $35,000? Because obviously it's sub pay. You're going to get taxed. And, what do you want to do with it? No work area for the new PA series, please. They'll take it under advisement, I'm sure. What's the leadership structure of the new PA series? Each track, GM. I hear they're going to make a board. There's going to be a board. They haven't done it yet. So that's still up in the air. That hasn't been determined. Danny Peace and or Cody Dare interview. Cody Dare is tough to get, but I'm going to try. Danny Peace, interesting. Yeah, that actually would be a good one. I'll take that under advisement. SprintCarUnlimited would be the exclusive broadcast company, just like Dirt Vision. You're already halfway there with having your own streaming company. Like, it's not going to happen. Flo's entrenched at Port Royal. Dirt Vision is entrenched at the Grove, and Lincoln has this new PA Posse TV thing going on. So, yeah, that's never going to happen. Hit the like button, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Your favorite moment at the Knoxville National? Sammy blowing the tire and the Sammy chant Scruffy upset, Lasowski family feud. Favorite one in person, and people don't talk about this, and it was as a writer, Brian Brown passed Donnie Schatz that one year. And then Donnie, there's two. And Brian Brown said, and Donnie ended up getting him. Brian Brown said to me in the interview, he said, I could hear the crowd when I passed him. And I think that was his first mistake, because obviously if you can hear the crowd, it's too much, Donnie getting him then. I just thought, wow, it was interesting. And then when Jason Johnson won it, Donnie Schatz was out of it. Go watch the tape. He started skipping his car over the berm in turn 4. And he lost. He lost the race, but to me, that drive is even more impressive than Jason's. because he was beat. He was beat, and he still almost stole it from him. And I was just impressed because Donnie's considered this, he just floats it and, doesn't do anything else. And yeah, yes, he does. And yeah, somebody just said Doug Wolfgang running the alphabet was the best. Yeah, I mean, I watched that event. I was a big Doug Wolfgang guy. And so, yeah, I mean, but in person, it was those two things. So if the what is the Porch Cup? Creates a porch board, all members will PA then be able to establish a government of the porch and have a governing body like you always talked about as well. I would like to see it. I would like it to be in place for everything. And I think there's a real opportunity here. So even doing this live show, I'm coming up with some more good things about the series. Again, still have concerns, but some good things. I do think this opens the door to doing something like that. Now, will it carry over to other things? I don't know. And I do think the players involved still need to maybe be a little more vocal and get some things done. So again, I hope it opens the door and does that, where they can get on the same page with rules. I mean, we don't know if this series is going to, excuse me, if they're going to have the same rules or not. So we'll see. We'll see. Schlotfeld to Tarleton. I've heard that rumor. I've heard a certain person's trying to get him in that car. And I think it'd be a great choice for Tarleton. I like Schlotfeld a lot. Woo is the pinnacle still. Two reasons. High Limit builds their schedule around the Woo Crown Jewels. And 2, Woo runs a longer, grueling schedule that takes more effort. I'm going to discount the first one because the object of High Limit is not to take, because I could say this, High Limit gets to run 8 6-figure paydays. The World of Outlaw guys can only run 5. Would you rather run 8 or would you rather run 5? I mean, you choose. Personally, I'd rather run 8. I think that's smart. I don't think that's a reason. If you want to tell me it's because they have David Gravel, Buddy Kofoid, and Carson Macedo, okay, I'll buy into that. Not that reason. I think Brad Nemmer's smart for doing that. Get to run 8 6-figure paydays compared to 5. I think everybody in the country would like to do that. Secondly, Woo is a longer, grueling schedule that takes more effort. I think it takes a lot of effort to win on the national level. I don't think it's easy on either side. Does it take more? I don't know. I never asked anybody that. $600 to start is a joke. A tire is $500. It's $394, but it might be $500 till it's all said and done. I mean, it's still a local show. It's not a High Limit show. It's not an Outlaw show. Deep dive with Dietrich's family, with the Dietrich family, Dan, Bill, and Danny. Man, that's a lot of people talking at once. It's hard. I'm not a big, I don't like, and I don't do it much. Maybe it'd be good to do at some point. I don't like doing where I have 2 subjects because they kind of trip over each other a little bit. And maybe they're a little more guarded if there's somebody else in the room. I found that to be the case. But it's something I might try at some point. And maybe Danny and Billy would be good. I would like to see the PA posse scheduled to be on SprintCarUnlimited.tv. I appreciate that, but it's not going to happen. The BAPS races will be on SprintCarUnlimited.tv, and we have some of the Speed Week shows as well. Jeremy, what's your thoughts on high limits ticket pricing to $100? That's not going to happen. Do you think more tracks and series will increase too? You're not going to see $100 high limit ticket price. I think about it this way. They basically raised it $5 from, it was 40, like the Outlaws were 40 at certain tracks. I had Williams Grove 35 because there's more seats there. It goes by seating and what you need to cover the purse. And I know you're going to say Arizona, but there's a lot of other problems in Arizona. And you're not going to see $100 like in Pennsylvania. You're not going to see $100 in Wisconsin. You're not going to see $100 for one ticket, even in California. So it's not going to be the norm. What will consume dirt tracks? Copart, data centers, developments, or other? It's going to depend on the track owners. If they're getting offered, I mean, Copart offers big money for these tracks. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's going to be lack of people in the stands. If anything breaks it, it's going to be that. And then that makes you sell to Copart. But I'd say Copart. They're buying them up. Cinnamon Bear is delusional. $42 for a ticket to high limit show. That's because Sugar Bear lies a lot. He can't help it. He just he's a rabble rouser. He lies a lot. Thank you, Chase, for clearing that up. My comment about ASA had nothing to do with the franchise system. CBS bought the ASA when they lost NASCAR, and shortly thereafter, Viacom bought CBS. Long story short, it basically killed the series. Yeah, I guess if you're going to say that somebody's going to buy Flow Racing, yeah, dirt track racing could go by the wayside. I mean, sure, that's plausible. Now, does somebody do that? I mean, I know this. Flow's worth is going up and up and up because, again, like I said, they just bought the AHL. Rights to the AHL. Okay, that's one step below the NHL. And by the way, they're affiliates of NHL teams. So that wasn't a cheap get. So it adds value. I do think there becomes a point where is somebody going to spend the money? And no offense to Flow, but they have sports that aren't mainstream. I love college and high school wrestling. Those athletes are incredible. I've covered them. But they don't have football, meaning they don't, and they have bowling, or they have gymnastics, they have all those sports, but they're like fringy sports. I don't know if they're a popular candidate to be bought by, say, Fox or NBC. And I'm not saying they are or aren't. I'm saying I don't know. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I've heard rumors, though, of Flow being bought for years. Because before, when I was covering wrestling, I had to deal with Flow almost every week. And whether it would be what I could put out and when and things of that nature. And again, I heard then that it was going to go away. Well, here we are. And that's about 10 years ago. So we'll see. Streaming killed weekly racing. No reason to go when you can pay $150 a year and watch it on your weekly shows on Flow. I'm not going to disagree with that. Weather comes into play. Weather comes into play. If the weather's 50%, people are staying home. That's it. So yes, I think to sit here and go, oh, Flo didn't hurt Eldora, Dirt Vision doesn't hurt the Kings Royal, that's cherry picking. Okay, that's a special deal where people are going to show up no matter what. It's a destination. I do think that there is some validity to saying that it hasn't helped the weekly show, especially if there's weather in the area. That's where it becomes a problem. Where if the Kings Royal, you're going to sit there till 2 a.m. or later. Knoxville, they're getting it in. So you can't cherry pick those shows and say, oh, it has no effect at all. That's garbage. That's just short-sighted. It has hurt the weekly shows. I know people at the National Open who sit out in a parking lot, watch Dirt Vision, and never pay to get in. For the National Open. So don't tell me it doesn't happen. Can we just try no work so race and see what the fans think? Oh, in a perfect world we could. In a perfect world we could. Out of the new Woo rules, which one is the most necessary and most unnecessary in your opinion? I didn't look at all of them real close. Ask me that next week. I don't want to say, because I don't want to give an opinion where I didn't look at it closely. I didn't scour it and get what people are saying. I'm not I can't look at a sprint car and tell you all the ins and outs. I know enough to be dangerous. And so I'd like to get some feedback on what guys think before I formulate an opinion on it. Jeremy, what was the points format at Houston's High Bank Nationals the drivers complained about? They didn't like starting sixth, and it was tough to pass. It was really tough to pass. That was the biggest problem of all. That it wasn't so much the format. It was because the track was tough to pass, they didn't like the format. If the track would have been wide open to where you could do a bunch of, where you could move around a ton, they wouldn't have had a problem with the format. So I think it's more that track conditions didn't allow for the format to be good. So I think it was more that. Since the Bitcoin guy sponsored Walker, Bitcoin down 25%. Well, you would know. You would know. I know you're into the stock market. So, man, that Bitcoin fluctuates a lot. Jesus. Have you ever interviewed Keith Kaufman or Todd Schaefer? Yes, I've interviewed both of them many times. Should the National Series get rid of the double wide restarts? Drivers seem to say yes. Better to catch lap traffic sooner. What do you think? I mean, let's face it, double file restarts were brought in to manufacture racing. I mean, that's what it was. I don't know why else you would do it. I know a lot of drivers don't like it because they can lose a ton of spots on a restart, but they can gain some too. So, tough call. I think it depends on the track. Any word on on Chewbacca? James McFadden will be back in the States in 2026. That's interesting. I have not heard anything. I will have to shoot him a text. And it's just out of sight, out of mind. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's actually a good question. What's the hold up with Sheldon KCP deal? I think it's just contractual stuff. I know Nos. I think Nos is going to be involved a little bit there. So I think they're just waiting to finalize everything. Nothing to worry about. I think Sheldon's going to be in that car. We had NSCA in Iowa back in the 80s, very similar to this Posse series. I'd be curious why it didn't work or why it's not there now. Hit me back if you can. How will the high limit teams get their equipment to Australia? Do they rent a truck or trailer to get around? I think some of them ship and then keep a car over there. And then there's others who drive cars over there that are already down there. I think there's two ways to do it. Has USAC not wanted to expand non-wing racing the same way as Wing 410 racing has? Non-wing seems to have stagnated over decades while winged expanded. I think non-wing is a niche within a niche. Sprint car racing's a niche. I think USAC is very Indiana based and kind of the surrounding states. Even when they come to PA, if you have you got to put 410s on that schedule, Will. The wing cars. If you don't, it can be a poor crowd. Babs doesn't have them anymore. Lincoln doesn't have them anymore. The crowds were down. So I think it's a very small segment of fans, and I just don't think they've been able to expand. I think we're seeing purses go up over there, so maybe that'll get more guys involved. They also lost some guys to wing racing. I think that's probably not helped them of late. So I'm watching you from Australia. We don't have work areas at most tracks. Can I say without streaming, I would not see your racing? I'm a wing car obsessed. Yeah, I think, look, streaming has its good points. Absolutely. I just don't know every week. I don't know where. I didn't say I have the solution. I'd like to think I have a solution on a lot of stuff. I do not have the solution on streaming. I have pay-per-view where it's each individual race, and I do that model because I think it best fits the racetrack for what we want to do with the racetrack. But streaming does definitely have its benefits, and you just brought one up. And you guys got it right. No work area. I like it. Always thought Australia did it right. Who will be in the 12 car since Lance left? It's going to be Brent Shearer. It's the son of car owner Barry Shearer. He's run 19 races since the end of 2022. He was in the car before that. He finished fourth at the Tuscarora 50 in 2023. It was one of the 10 races he ran that year. He ran 6, I believe, in 2024 and 3 this year, or it might have been 3, then 6, but it's 19 races in 23, 24, and 25. So he'll be back in the car. He won 13 micro races this year. So he's been kind of working on his racecraft in micros. Campgrounds at Charlotte were full of fans watching World Finals on Dirt Vision. It's cheaper. Go camp, get all the same stuff, and watch on Dirt Vision. Now, the crowd wasn't hurting. It wasn't hurting at Charlotte. They get a good crowd every year. They kill it. Will someone come up with a way to police jumping starts? Oh, come on. That's a lot to ask. This is where most guys make big advances in the main by jumping starts in the rear, and that is not watched closely. I agree. But I don't think it's going to change. The Woo Regional Series in 85 killed the NSCA. There you go. I said it's great to be a Tennessee Oh, God. Here we go, Corey Nietzsche. I knew I was getting this. I was hoping I could avoid it. It's great to be a Tennessee Vols. Great game by Florida the other night. Glad to finally end the 22-year swamp drought. Well, be proud that you didn't get beat 23 times straight. There's something to be proud of. And Florida looked horrendous. It was an embarrassment, which is why they're going to get a new coach. Thought I could get away from it. Do you think the amount of series racing is killing the fan base, specifically for the smaller series? I think it's crazy the amount of races being ran in certain races. Tough topic. I don't know if it's killing the small series. There's a lot of races, and you have a lot of opportunity to go to a lot of races. I don't know if that's what's killing it. I think ticket prices. I don't believe race fans are going to spend a ton more money. I think they're going to move it around. I think they're going to make tougher choices. I think they're going to, if there's big shows, why wouldn't you pay to go see the stars? Why wouldn't you pay to go see the World of Outlaws guys or the High Limit guys? Of course that's going to happen, and you're going to spend a lot of money to do it. And then that might take away from some of your regional/local shows. We have 17 of them in PA. If they all get in, think about the money. Think about the money for a minute. Let's just say you spend $100 for 2 people. That's $1,700. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. How much are you really going to spend on other stuff? That's something to think about. I just don't see in the NFL, if the ticket prices get too high, there's so many people who like it that you'll fill the seats. Somebody will give it up. Somebody else is going to jump at it. There's not a large enough fan base in sprint car racing to replace the people who don't come back because of ticket prices. That's the issue. Or they don't come back for whatever reason, regardless of the reason. Whereas these other sports, the stick and ball sports you see on TV, they have a larger fan base to pull from. Slippery slope. Jeremy, would you consider a deep dive with Billy Pouch? Absolutely. A lot on the table. I'm not going to do one this week on Thanksgiving. Nobody will listen to it. Jeremy, we need a deep dive with Chris H. Obviously, another good one. I like all the deep dive suggestions. I kind of make a mental note of them and go back and write them down. It definitely people I want to get because once we get past this weekend, I'd like to get 2 in a week the rest of the way. Where can I find your interviews with Kaufman and Schaefer? Oh, I did those before there was no YouTube or whatever. So they were articles. So I interviewed them there. I didn't tape them. Those were years ago. So obviously they haven't raced for a long time. So I interviewed them back when they were racing. Sorry about that. Although you never know. You might see Todd Schaefer on one soon. Any updates on TJ Stutz's 2026 plans? Not yet. I don't think a decision has been made yet. Any NARC news? They got somebody to run the series. I always forget his name. Scott, I believe his name is. I draw a blank on it all the time. Too many names in my head. But no, other than that, I've not heard anything. Jeremy, are the Oilers making the playoffs? They are down 3-0 in the first period against Dallas. I don't like their goaltending. And that's a problem. You got to have a goaltender. I think they make the playoffs. I think they sneak in because they'll go on a run with Draisaitl and McDavid and those guys. And so I think they'll get in. And then at that point, yes, Scott Woodhouse, his name is. Thank you, Corey. But the goaltending is going to be their Achilles heel. Always is. Always is. Until they get a goaltender. I mean, I think the Sharks goaltender is better, and they just brought him up from the Barracuda, Askarov. So, and by the way, this is for Lauda, my daughter, all over the Macklin Celebrini, all over him. All over him. Jeremy, now it's 4-0. Hey, look, my Blackhawks are doing well, so I'm happy. I just happen to like Draisaitl and McDavid. Just signed up using the holiday code. Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Always appreciate that. Just scan the QR code on the screen. We'll have it up every week through the holidays, now until January 1st, holiday 2026. And you get 20% off. You get a year subscription for $28. Pretty good deal. Jeremy, whatever happened to Neon Dion Hindi? I'm not sure. That's a blast from the past. I haven't heard anything about him. It's another guy maybe to get on the deep dive. Low buck guy. Always you never missed his car on the racetrack. That's for sure. Most overrated Thanksgiving side dish. Cranberry. You know what? Dried corn. If anybody's had dried corn, blech, awful. Dried corn. So I changed that. What's going to be the next Gators coach? Maybe Lane Kiffin. He's slimy, but I'd be okay with it because they're all slimy. Lane Kiffin, who we're hoping for. Who I hope for anyway. I don't own the team. All right, guys, that's a wrap for the night. Thank you very much to everybody who joined the show. Again, we're going to continue the Sprint Car Unlimited live shows throughout the rest of the year on Tuesday nights. And I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody joining in the chat and via phone. Again, if you're looking to get a membership to SprintCarUnlimited.com, just scan the QR code, Holiday 2026 at checkout, and you can get it for $28. And we'll be back next week with another show. Stay tuned.